Hello all. Today we will look into architecture decision record that's called ADR. So we'll look into what is ADR, how to create ADR, what is the structure of ADR, and what are statuses in the ADR workflow, example of ADR, benefits of ADR, and some key points. What is ADR? In the world of technology, specifically in architecture, decisions are made every day. These decisions happen in meetings or around the coffee shop or sometimes even in the offset locations. We discuss the context of the decisions, we discuss what is the problem with a group of people, but we often neglect to document both the decisions and the reason behind them. So down the lane, after a few years, we find ourselves looking at the architecture wondering, why do we design it this way? What were we thinking at that point of time, or what were they thinking at that point of time? In those moments, if we are fortunate enough to have someone who was part of the decision making, then they can share the story with us. But if there is nobody who can share that story with us, then yeah, they will tell us what was the rationale behind taking that decision, and then it will make sense to us. So to address this challenge of missing context when nobody is present from the team where this decision was taken, to address that challenge of missing context, the solution is to document our decisions. Yes, so that documentation we will do in the ADR. And here you can see that I say context is the king. Without knowing what the problem is, what problem are we going to solve, and why it is a problem for us. So the problem statement and why we are going to solve this forms the context. So if we don't have context, then we cannot address any issue. And we are documenting our decisions here. So that's the reason I say document of our decisions. So if you see the definition, architectural decision records detail important decisions the development team takes regarding a critical component of the software architecture. Important decisions of critical components they intend to create. Each ADR explains the architectural choice. So the alternatives, whatever we list, in that list, we choose the best one for our problem. That's the context. And its implication. We also note the consequences of the choice we have made. So how to create ADR? First, we need to identify the need of an ADR. Before you start creating an ADR, ensure that the decision is significant. So it should make sense to document this decision, whether it is a simple or complex. So whatever the problem is, but it should be meaningful to make a record of that decision. So consider decisions that have a lasting impact on the architecture. It can be technology choices or design principles, whatever, but it should have an impact. Once need is identified, create ADR in draft status. We will look into the statuses that ADR will flow into the later slide. So it will be created in a draft status, and then it will be proposed to the stakeholders. So first point is to identify the need of an ADR and then define the problem. So define the problem statement. What is the problem we are going to solve? It has to be clearly and simply stated. That is the defined problem. Describe other options. We may have already worked on that problem, or we may have done some investigation on that problem. So we will have some options like option 1, 2, 3, 4, where each options are solutions to the problem. So now list down all the solutions, all the options, describe them with pros and cons, and then collaborate with the stakeholders, with the team, whoever will be making an impact of this decision, and then choose from the listed options the best one, and then record that decision. So once the decision is recorded and made a note, then work on the consequences, whether short term or long term, whether this decision, whatever we have taken today, in short term, how it will be viable, and in long term, whether it will be viable or not, or we need to take an extra effort to maintain and update that ADR. If, for example, today we have taken a decision and it is very apt for the situation right now we are in, but tomorrow when we are going with, there is a technology change tomorrow. So when we are trying to do the technology change, how hard it would be, how much effort we are going to take for that technology change, or will it be relevant or not. So all those things has to be noted down, and if it is not relevant, then the decision taken can be deprecated and superseded by the another DR on the same problem statement that we will see in the next slides. What is ADR structure? It is very simple, no need to complicate this one. Created by and date, these are optional, but having a note of when it is created and what is the date and who created it will make sense. And then who are the decision makers, who is the decision maker or decision makers, sometimes maybe one person or two persons, those decision maker names have to be mentioned here. And then the stakeholders, who are all part of this decision, who are all collaborated. It may be development team, architecture team, IT team, product owner team, product team, all those, whoever is part of the stakeholders has to be mentioned here, and simple and clear title of what we are going to do. And then the context is the problem here, what is the problem we are going to solve, and why this problem is important for the organization, and what decision we have taken for this problem. List all the options and note the one which we have decided to go on. And then what is the status of this document? Starting, it will be draft. Once the draft is completed and it is shown to the stakeholders, it will be proposed. And there is a transition of statuses that we will discuss in the next slide. And then consequences, as we discussed earlier, mention all the consequences, long term, short term, and if there will be any impact, will there be any effort in the coming days, or will it become obsolete at any point of time, are we going to deprecate in supersede it? You need to mention the important things that may impact this ADR. So like I said, this is the ADR workflow where status will progress from one state to another state. When we create the ADR, first status would be draft, and once the draft is completed and we put all the meaningful things into it, then we propose it to the stakeholders. Once it is proposed to the stakeholders, all the stakeholders will sit and open a discussion on the ADR to find out, to see all the options and to find out the best viable option to complete this ADR. And then once they come to a decision, it moves either to accepted, rejected. So if it is accepted, then it is an ADR which team will be following. If it is rejected, then they will work on why it is rejected, and then will make changes accordingly, and it will go back to the draft proposed open to discussion, and again till it is accepted. And then deprecated is little different in future. For example, today we have created an ADR, but after some time, after few years, we go and see that this ADR is not making sense for the current technology. So what we can deprecate it, and when we deprecate it, what we do is we will create another ADR, and that ADR will be superseding this deprecated ADR. We mentioned in this deprecated ADR saying that there is another ADR 001 or 002, whatever it is, that would be superseding this deprecated ADR. So these are the states. It will move from draft to proposed, proposed to open to discussion, and then accepted or rejected. Till it is accepted, we will work on it, and then it can be deprecated because of circumstantial things, and then we will supersede that ADR with another ADR. But we will not be changing the ADR which is accepted. Once accepted, it is immutable. So let us take an example of ADR. The title is very simple here. Decision to choose a cloud provider for data project. There is a data project. Now we need a cloud provider for that one. We'll come to status later. Context. So what is a context? Context is not only choosing a cloud provider for data project, but the clear context here is quality requirements or non-functional requirements. We had to consider which are like performance, scalability, ease of use, and cost, how much cost is going to incur, and how it is easy to integrate, and what are the support, how much documentation is available, how much support is available for that. So not only choosing a cloud provider for data project, but these the quality requirements whichever is mentioned here are important. So we understood what is the context here, and then we have come up with some options like Azure is one of that, where it has its own services and its strengths, and then we have AWS, Amazon Web Services, where it has its own strengths and some things, and then GCP Cloud, Google Cloud Platform, where it has its own strengths. So the team went through all these three things, and they thought that GCP is the viable option, and then they selected GCP in those quality requirements which they were looking for. And if you see here, they mentioned all those things here, why they chose this GCP: performance and scalability, easy of use, pricing wise, integration wise, and then how it will be growing, and what about its established technology stack. All those things they have made mention of all those things in this decision. Okay, you can pause it and you can go through it. And then the consequences as well. What is the positive impact of this decision is going to make on the organization, and are there any potential drawbacks, like will it require any migration effort like mentioned in this point, right? And then are there any monitoring and adjustments we have to see if there are any changes in the requirements or unforeseen challenges that may arise due to circumstances. So all those things should be recorded in this ADR. So that's about an example of ADR. So what are benefits of ADR? Yeah, time and cost saving. Uh, so when you have a document of the decision taken, the new members, those come to the team or who joins the organization, and you don't have any team member who is part of the ADR, then you don't need to go through that decision again. You will refer the document, and that document will save you time and cost as well. So that's how the time and cost saving will happen with the ADR. Distributed decision making. ADR helps teams to make informed decision and reach to a decision more efficiently. It will allow everybody to participate. It will allow anyone in team to own or run with the decision making, while ensuring that right stakeholders are involved. Not everybody has to be involved. Right stakeholders has to be involved. Transparency. Decisions made are not locked in meeting minutes. So it is not like the complete conversation is there, and you are maintaining a minutes of meeting for that, and then archiving it into some folder and all. It is a collection of ADRs that are accessible, and they can help in communication. So you will be very point to point. You will take the snapshot of the decision that is taken at that point of time, and you'll put it in a document with a clear notes and clear decision that is taken with the consequences. So it is very transparent. Anybody in the team can go and visit it. Knowledge sharing. ADR captures and preserves the knowledge by documenting insights, and if there are any trade-offs. For example, in our example, we have seen AWS, Azure, and GCP, and why we are going for GCP. So that trade-offs and lessons learned from past decisions, those are all will be part of it. And because of individuals listed on the ADR, the stakeholders who are listed on the ADR, or the decision maker who is listed on the ADR, we know them, we can contact them, and we can find out more information on this ADR and the circumstance, and at that point of time what was the challenges they have faced and why this decision has been taken. So that's where ADR can help in finding out the correct person to have a knowledge sharing. Accountability. Each decision is tied to specific individuals or groups, like we have seen in the exam structure or example, that we will be mentioning the stakeholders or who is making the decision. So we know who is accountable for it, and we can find out that person and can ask more, like knowledge sharing point. We can ask for more information on that one. Some key points that are important to know are, it's a communication tool. ADR serves as a communication tool, enabling teams and stakeholders. Yeah, some key points. It is a communication tool. ADR serves as a communication tool. It enables teams and stakeholders to grasp the reason behind the decision. It acts as a decision tracking tool, helps us trace why decisions were made, especially when initial drivers evolve. So it acts as a communication, like we saw in the previous slide, how knowledge sharing and accountability. So these are all related to it. And it is not a long running document. It is very simple, precise, concise, and clear. So it is not a long running document. And whether it is a simple decision we are going to take, or whether we are going to take a complex decision, it has to be relevant and it should not be long running. It is immutable. Once it is accepted, once it is approved, it should not be changed. If there is a need to change the decision, then it has to be deprecated and has to be superseded by the other ADR. The same decision, but in another ADR with different options and with a different decision. But it should, the ADR once accepted should not be edited. That's why it is called immutable. And we mention all the document outcomes. So we know what are the outcomes of that ADR, which is clear. We will see all the consequences, what are there. So that's how all the document outcomes are mentioned there. And the main thing is, it can be done across the domains, not just business, not data, not just application, and not just technology. It can be done by in all the domains across the architecture. And not only architecture, it can be done in any other space as well, because it is so generic. It is not just specific to architecture or development. It can be spread to any other areas as well. So those are some key points of ADR. I hope you liked this video. So if you liked it and you have come to this slide, definitely you have found some advantage of it. So please like, share, and subscribe to encourage me. Thanks for watching. Thank you.